this thing, whatever this is. And we're going to talk Twin freaking Peaks. Hello, everybody. I'm back. It's Joey. We're back talking about Twin Peaks. Hope to have a lot of fun. Hopefully this music is not too loud. I figured I'm going to try to make this stream a little bit more legit, a little more pre-produced, so that we could get conversations rolling and have a little bit of fun. So I'm going to turn down music. All right. So we could get into the conversation. Yes, Danielle. Shooting to have this as a podcast maybe at some point in the future. I figured out how to finally do podcasts. So I'm excited to get a Twin Peaks one off the ground. I might even turn some of the old shows into legitimate podcasts. So that should be a ton of fun. Anyway, hello everybody. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully people trickle in throughout the evening. Please feel free to tweet or post wherever Twin Peaks fans are sold. And we will get started with the show. I'm going to post it in the Twin Peaks Universe Facebook group. If you have not joined that, please go to Facebook, search Twin Peaks Universe. I moderate that group, and if you want to join, come in and say hello, post a thing, post some art if you have some Twin Peaks art, because that's kind of the reason why I made that group, is so people who have any sort of Twin Peaks inspired art or fine art around the net can come in and post it. So hopefully everybody's doing well. Sound off in the comments if you are joining us live here. So for the first episode back, or first episode of this series, I was thinking about talking about Briggs and Blue Book, because I've been watching Project Blue Book on History Channel, so it kind of ignited the wheels in my head. And so I started thinking about Twin Peaks and Project Blue Book and how Windom Earle was part of that project. You know, if you believe that the Mark Frost books are canon, some people, they take them as canon. Some people don't, since it wasn't really a Lynch and Frost venture. People don't really sort of take it to heart too much. They think it's, Frost's Twin Peaks instead of Lynch and Frost. Or, Frost didn't write Fire Walk with Me either. So are we kicking that out of the Twin Peaks myth, the Twin Peaks canon? No. So I think it would be fair to consider, maybe you could pick apart whatever you want, pick parts of the Secret History or Twin Peaks or the Final Dossier, decide what you want to be canon, what you don't. It seems like people have been doing that anyway, especially when it comes to the mythology of Twin Peaks, a little bit like Judy or Jeffries or Briggs, and people have decided what they want to take from it and put into the context of the actual show and the movie, and what to leave out. I like it all. I enjoyed both books. I know there was a lot of inconsistencies, which now makes sense. Since the show ended, timeline is all disrupted. Things that would have happened never did, or happened differently, which would, opens up the conversation again for if we got more Twin Peaks, what would it be? And so I was thinking about this recently, and it kind of it was a fun thought, and it was also a worrisome thought, because I was thinking, the whole dreamer who dreams the dream and then lives inside the dream kind of thing. Twin Peaks season 4, or Twin Peaks The Return Part 2, or whatever you want to call it. I absolutely would want that to happen because I would like to see all those people return to their roles that we love them in so much. I would love to see Kyle MacLachlan as Agent Cooper any day of the week, brand new Twin Peaks any day of the week. But then there's a thought that kind of came to me, and a lot of this season built up things that exist in dreams, dreams within dreams. And it made me start thinking, is David Lynch just kind of just leaving it? Will he just like leave it there and so that we could fill in the blanks and kind of dream up a new Twin Peaks, dream up our own Twin Peaks, and dream up our own versions of Dale Cooper and all these people. It was very interesting because then you have I mean, not to say my own thought is interesting, but I just started thinking on it quite a bit, and I really started getting a little sour myself because I'm like, I started feeding into this thought of maybe not ever getting more Twin Peaks, more official Twin Peaks, because is Lynch and Frost kind of just leaving it open-ended so that we could dream up our own Twin Peaks and our own versions of Cooper and Diane, called Richard and Linda, or Harry and Susie, or something. Just in this parallel world that takes a lot from the real world and tips it on its head. It's almost a comment on art itself, or how people use art, perceive art, kind of chew it up and spit it out themselves. Twin Peaks and David Lynch works have inspired me plenty, but it'd be interesting. It's like here we're giving you this freedom to make your own sort of fan fiction. Or just your world is as important as my world, as Mark's world, as anybody else's version of this. It is your dream to dream and whatnot. So it's Twin Peaks is such a show, like a creative's show, such a show for people that like to think on art and create art. And I don't know. I feel like most Twin Peaks fans that I've encountered and talked to are creative people in a lot of the sense. And I feel like David Lynch is, living that art life, and he wants other people to as well. And what would be sort of better than, here's this piece I made. Go run with it. Come up with your own conclusions and whatnot. He's quoted, and I'm not saying this verbatim, but something about people like people come out of the film and they watch the film and then they want you to talk about the film, but the film is the talking, sort of that notion. And so, did he, with The Return, did he go make a film or a show, however you want to, label it, that people should talk about or create their own version of? Did he give you like a bunch of random, it felt like he gave you a bunch of random puzzle pieces that you could piece together, so you could be creative with the show in that way. You could be creative with the characters. It's really interesting. The show itself was almost like a jigsaw puzzle, an open-ended jigsaw puzzle, which is a weird thought. A puzzle that might have more pieces that you could either make or might come later. I don't know. I guess we'll see. But it's kind of been interesting going back now that it's a year and a couple months since The Return ended, and I was doing a lot of videos about The Return too. I was doing videos nonstop, and I took a break for a while because I felt like I was kind of just repeating myself and saying the same stuff over and over, and it just wasn't, I don't know, I just couldn't come up with any more enthusiasm to talk about it in this sort of way. So I went back, I took a break, and then I started feeling the want to watch the show again and watch Lynch movies again. So I started doing that. I watched Mulholland Drive, and I watched The Art Life again because it is a very well done documentary or movie, whatever you want to call it. And then I found myself like re-immersed in the whole and all the ideas and the world again, and just what Lynch is bringing to us, basically. And I have like this whole new subset of Lynch fans to talk to, and people bring their own ideas, and we have conversations about things, movies and scenes I've had conversations for or about numerous times, but it's like somebody always has their own little thing to add or thought or comment that I never considered, which is a lot of fun. So I kind of got reeled back in with the half thanks to the passage of time and missing the community and missing talking about the show and whatnot, and then I wanted to re-immerse in the mystery, which is I've been watching a whole bunch of different shows and nothing does. Nothing has the same effect as Twin Peaks, and I'm sure you all know that. And it's a fun thought. It's not a sad thought. It's an exciting thought because I'm into this show, very much so, and all of you guys are, and we could just sort of immerse ourselves for hours and hours on end and not feel like we wasted our time. We just had a lot of fun talking about it and life simultaneously. People refer to it as religion almost, but it's a community. It's just sort of a community. People get along, people don't. But I'm happy to be back making Twin Peaks videos, and hopefully we could get some guests on very soon. And if you're actually watching this and you'd like to come on, please message me. Where is it? You could always message me on Instagram or Twitter. I'm most active there. You could always message me on YouTube too, but that's it's harder to get to on YouTube for some reason. But Twitter's probably the best place, and then also Instagram. I answer messages there, so feel free. I'm definitely looking for people that, new faces and old, that have something to say about Twin Peaks. And I'm pretty laid back, I think. We could have a good time talking about Twin Peaks, and you might be on a podcast if you're down for that. So I'm very excited to get back into it. Anyway, let's get into the real stuff, if you don't mind. I know you guys want to get into the real stuff. We'll talk about Project Blue Book. Now, I've been out of the game for a while. I'm not very seasoned. I need to work myself back into all this. Let's see. Project Blue Book. By the way, if you haven't seen the History Channel show, go see it. I'm a little behind, but it's been great so far. So, what we know about Project Blue Book is not much. Not much via Twin Peaks. We know Windom Earle was a part of Project Blue Book, which is a sort of an investigation into UFOs, just strange phenomena, I guess you could say, that were sort of, people thought were a threat to national security, so they built this sort of, group, coalition, sort of their own X-Files kind of thing. So Windom Earle's part of this. We don't know how deep his involvement was. Apparently, possibly Cooper was also a part of Project Blue Book. I don't know how far back in his career, maybe when he was working with Windom Earle. Cooper has always seemed kind of in tune with, strange forces. So it's possible Cooper was part of Project Blue Book far before the show and sort of far before the events of Fire Walk with Me. We already know Cooper's. He's Blue Rose. He's with Gordon and Albert and Jeffries at some point, possibly. Timeline is a little mucky now. But as we know, Windom Earle sort of caught information of the Black Lodge and goings on in Twin Peaks, became obsessed, became crazed, murdered Caroline, possibly just because he had turned crazy, possibly because also she was cheating on him with Cooper, but I'm sure you know how the Black Lodge kind of sullies people, that dark energy turns people. That I'm sure that had a huge effect on Windom Earle, which caused him, to just go insane. From what Cooper and I believe Gordon had said previously in Albert, that he wasn't always that way. He was a little off, but he was like a good agent up until his breaking point. He became obsessed, and the obsession just turned rotten and rotted his whole being. And then we saw, we got the Windom Earle that we saw in the original series run. I wish there was more Windom Earle in the return. There was a stunning lack of conversation or mention of Windom Earle, which is strange. Maybe they had planned stuff and they took it out. But I'm definitely, I would like to know more about Windom Earle. I feel like he's still, he's a very, he's sort of a big character in the show, yet we know very little, or just, very select things about the individual. I want to know how other things he worked on in Project Blue Book, or was this one of the first things he worked on, and maybe he sort of hooked onto whatever the Black Lodge was. I don't know. I wish we had gotten more Windom Earle. It kind of bugs me that we didn't. Obnoxious Anonymous Cameron says, I just gave this video a thumbs up. There was no mention of Earle in season 3, but you will in Queen of Hearts. So if you guys helped with the Indiegogo campaign, you might hear more about Windom Earle. But this is a character I feel like was under. I mean, he was brought into Twin Peaks season 2 to sort of fill in the hole that revealing Laura's killer left. And I think Windom Earle could have been. I mean, he is a good villain. I think he could have been a great villain. Maybe if that show was made today, but then again, there's a lot of things that don't work. But I think if Twin Peaks got a season 3 back then, we might have learned more about Windom Earle. What could have been, but this is a character I need more of. I want more of. Even in the Secret History and the Final Dossier and whatnot, we just didn't get enough. We didn't get enough. I want to know how crazy. I mean, we know to what extent crazy he was, but I want to see the dichotomy. We didn't really see Windom Earle break. We kind of put the pieces together. We could have put the pieces together on our head and figured out, that big break happened when, he became obsessed with the Black Lodge, and then found out that Caroline was cheating with Cooper and whatnot. But, I'd like to see that, or like to learn about who Windom Earle was before that twist. I mean, he probably always was kind of twisted in a way, but there was, I'm sure from the context of what we actually know, that he was some semblance of normal before whenever he cracked fully. He must have been. He was an FBI agent. He was part of the Project Blue Book and Blue Rose. So there must have been some semblance of, he needed to be a little wacky to be a part of that team. Let's get real. But there must have been some semblance of normalcy with Windom Earle. I mean, him and Cooper were close for, I can't think of the amount of time that they were, partners or working together. But, I mean, Cooper seems like a logical dude for all intents and purposes. So I'd really love to see the dichotomy of, Windom when he was like an FBI agent, really, trying to figure stuff out with Cooper to, killing Caroline, and then, what we saw in season 2, and then didn't hear from again. Obnoxious and Anonymous says he was Moriarty to Cooper's Sherlock. He should have been the one to shoot Cooper. Was he I guess he was the Moriarty to Cooper's Sherlock. Although I feel like there was almost probably a John and Sherlock dynamic, maybe when they were working together. I don't know which one's John and which one's Sherlock. I almost want to say that Windom Earle was almost probably like he's highly intelligent, as far as we know, but not Sherlock level, of course. I don't know if we have any Sherlock level intelligence in Twin Peaks world. I'm trying to think of who the smartest character might be. Probably Briggs. No, he just knows. He just has the most information, vital information, I guess. But I don't know if we have like a super intelligent. Cooper probably would be next, but I feel like Windom Earle. There's it's implied that Windom Earle is pretty brainy guy. So I don't know. I'm just fascinated with the thought of, a younger Windom Earle or a pre-psycho Windom Earle. I'd like to see that, and I'm still a little upset that we didn't get more of that in season 3 or any of in season 3. I don't know if there was plans to have anything with Windom Earle in season 3. Maybe they just wanted to scrap him. I don't know how. I'm not sure how David Lynch or Mark Frost feels about Windom Earle as a character, because that was kind of their foil to Cooper after they had to reveal Laura's killer. So I don't know how much weight Windom Earle has to them. I'm assuming not much 25 years later, because they didn't put him in the new show. But fans of the old show that still watch and go over it and intertwine that with the return are wondering. At least I am, and I know Cameron from Obnoxious and Anonymous is wondering, and I guess is going to be Queen of Hearts. Palpatine and Anakin, more like. Yeah, I guess Cooper wasn't. I mean, Cooper was, I guess, corrupted. To a point. Shadow self. He couldn't deal with his shadow self. He obviously still. He still harbored immense guilt, I guess, for Caroline's death, which might have been one of the reasons why he couldn't get out of the Black Lodge at the end of season 2. Or was, consumed by the doppelganger, or replaced by the doppelganger. So it's tough. I mean, what if there's a lot of what ifs. There's a lot of what ifs. Obnoxious Anonymous says Windom was mentioned in episode 9 that Lynch directed. Lynch also warns Cooper of Windom's advances in episode 13. See, I'm so out of practice. I need to rewatch season 1 and 2, which I will slowly. I'm kind of reacclimating myself to the Twin Peaks universe after the break. Do we know who created the character of Earl? I'm not. That's a good question. Let's see. I wonder if there is an answer on the internet. It's the short or the easy answer. I want to say maybe Mark Frost, because Lynch was kind of in and out filming during season 2. So I'm guessing it was Mark Frost, but there was a lot of people running the show back then. Unlike The Return, it was more of an open, sort of a group rather than just Lynch and Frost. I don't see any sort of actual, created by or interesting. Yeah, no. If you're ever curious about a character, by the way, twinpeaks.fandom.com is a great place. Whoever's compiling the information on this website is doing a fantastic job. Usually when I need a quick little, if I have a question or if I don't remember something, I'll just jump over here. Here it says, early life, born circa... See, sometimes I come over here and there's like new stuff added that I don't know where people got from. It says, born circa 1941, Earle claimed that when he was 10 years old in 1951, he had watched the film I Was a Communist for the FBI and as a result been greatly inspired to seek out a job in law enforcement. Academically, Earle would prove to be quite a prodigy in his youth. By the age of 14, he became a chess grandmaster. By age 16, he joined the University of Pennsylvania before earning a degree in criminal justice at age 18. So yeah, this it kind of goes back to my thought that Windom Earle probably was the Sherlock to Cooper, who was probably more as a John, more of a John, because Cooper, which is a weird thought. Cooper was a little bit more earthly or grounded than Windom Earle. And it seems like, Windom Earle is just sort of this logical creature, or seemingly like creature of habit and logic. But I think when, Caroline probably broke him of that, and, he fell in love and sort of he makes you vulnerable, and then Cooper kind of went in there and took his lady. Not that she couldn't make the decision. I mean, they're both kind of guilty of it, but that kind of thing does something to your brain, especially if you're one way your whole life. Somebody comes into your life, kind of rattles it, and then something sort of traumatic happens, and I'm kind of sympathizing with Windom Earle right now, which is insane, but he seemed like a sort of a good kid all the way up to when he just sort of lost it. After graduating, he applied for a job at the FBI and was accepted on as a trainee. He attended his training as an agent at the FBI Academy in Quantico, Virginia, and passed with historically high marks. So Windom Earle was just sort of next level. So it's this is the only real backstory we have to Windom Earle. He was just like a really, really intelligent person his whole life. He was sharp. Trauma again. It's all everybody kind of. It's sort of the thing about Twin Peaks. Sort of the beauty and the sadness of it is like everybody is brought to these different sort of paths of life, and either we watch trauma happen to them, or they've gotten there because of a result of some sort of trauma in their life. Leland obviously had dealt with Bob and was probably screwed up for most of his teenage and adult life. Laura, as we know, Bobby. Funny enough, Bobby is sort of the only one with a semi-normal home life. I mean, except that his father is just sort of aloof, but not. But he's just sort of not there. He has more pressing matters. So Bobby, I guess, has sort of daddy issues. Um, James has all sorts of issues, and he's obviously the one with the biggest heart at times, which, James has always been cool because he's the emotional, sensitive one. It's an interesting way to sort of portray the way different people, sort of, the way different people deal with trauma and how their lives are sort of almost dictated. The way their life goes is dictated by it. And I guess you could extrapolate this and use this with almost any drama show, but Twin Peaks is very heavy on the topic of trauma in youth and trauma just to the world. Trauma in general is a very large theme in Twin Peaks, and it's one that I think a lot of people should. It's what makes the show really substantial and feel a lot of weight. I could go back and watch the characters, and even the really sweeping kind of cheesy episodes. If you really kind of just listen to what they're saying, I know I could think of 100 lines that would not work with what I'm saying right now, but there are things where you feel the weight and the sadness that came from some sort of trauma. I think Donna, for a long time, wasn't. She probably, not even Bobby. Donna had the best house, the best home life. She just had a warm family. Besides her mother, not her mother being in a wheelchair, but she is in a very loving family, and we think her sort of sadness or trauma. I don't know if it can be considered trauma. I guess the death of Laura is Donna's trauma, and the town. But Donna was her best friend, so we see in real time that trauma happened to Donna, which is heartbreaking. I mean, that first episode, when that iconic scene of her just sort of crying in her school seat, her desk, is just. It's still. I think it almost has more weight after you watch the show and go back to it. It's like that was her best friend, and now she doesn't have her anymore. She's trying to navigate this world without a best friend, and she's just going to the only boy she knows, and kind of teaming up with Audrey, and people sort of, it shows the good things that happen, as well as the bad and the sad things that happen with the trauma of losing your lifelong best friend in high school as a teenager, so young. It's Donna is Donna is, I think, one of my favorite characters, and I don't think she gets enough. I don't think she gets enough credit because I think people they sort of take it as the show goes. But if you really kind of think about the trauma, or the sort of the sudden sadness she went through in Laura's death, it really has a different way to it. And then you see her kind of. I know the TV time is like super sped up, but in a couple episodes she's like just confused about being sort of okay. Because Laura wasn't, she was her best friend, but she was also sort of very, obviously very troubled and also traumatized herself, and very scared and confused and angry and all this stuff. So, and Donna, knowing this, was just, I guess, relieved after a point that her friend, it was over for her friend. Or so she thought. So she thought. Now we know with their turn that it is not over, which means I mean, the thing is, Donna still probably suffered from some kind of issue, issued issues, especially if Laura was just sort of taken that day and displaced rather than brought back, and was able to live out her life. Um, but it's an interesting thought to see think about where Donna would have gone, or how Donna's life would have played out if Laura did return to where she was. But she couldn't. Cooper couldn't take her back to the house as a teenager. She wouldn't be able to, handle it. Obviously, she wasn't able to handle it. So it's so interesting to sort of just put in the context of like all these young people just dealing with these immense issues, and basically seeing them kind of work it out with each other. I mean, a lot of shows do that, a lot of teenage shows, but something about the emotion and the music of Twin Peaks and the environment, and then the surreal factor, which didn't really get there until season 2. It makes it something special. So I'm glad to be talking about Twin Peaks. I decided to call this little series Inside the Dream. I hope you guys enjoyed the first little episode. Hopefully we could do another one very soon. I'm going to try to schedule these out, and I'll let you guys know when we're going to do more episodes, and I'll have hopefully a bunch of co-hosts on so we could ramble and talk about anything and everything Twin Peaks. Maybe we'll have some themed episodes as well if there is a specific subject you all want to talk about. But anyway, thank you guys very much for tuning in. I know there's a couple of you here, and those of you who will watch after the fact, which I know a lot of people overseas enjoy watching it. But it's hard for them to watch it live because I decided to put this one so late. But anyway, thank you guys for listening, watching, whichever way you're consuming it. And I'm glad to be back and talking about Twin Peaks. So if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and like the video. That would go a long way. And follow me on Twitter and Instagram for more chats and to find out when episodes are going live. And I just release all the info about episodes, or we could just talk about TV, anything. I'm very friendly, I promise. All right, guys, see you later. Have a great week if I don't see you before the end of the week. And thank you guys for tuning in. See you later.